Lecture. The topic today is ethics, the core value of engineering. Last week I mentioned that engineers should benefit mankind. I think some of you, when you you heard about this, you may laugh and say, "Hey, Professor, you may be a bit too idealistic. Company nowadays all interest in money. So if it costs money, no company will let the engineer to do anything to benefit mankind." You may be right. But in fact, in recent years, we have seen more and more companies that set ethics as their core value of or business. So they found that by doing so, not only the society, the company themselves will also be benefit. So I will elaborate more on this in this lecture. Before that, let me first recap what we have discussed last week. So last week, I said that engineering ethics contain two parts. They are preventive ethics and aspirational ethics. Preventive ethics is about rule and regulation. They mandate what engineers should do or should not do. And aspirational ethics is about benefit mankind. It requires engineers to make judgment in weighting different value when making decisions in order to benefit mankind. This will be the case when we want to benefit mankind because there's no rules carved in stone of how to benefit mankind. So we always need to exercise judgment in different weighting, such as cost, performance, pride, honor, loyalty, human relation, ethics, etc. Okay, before we have professional bodies, in fact, all companies just regard ethics as a peripheral value. Okay, company only interest in cost, performance, whether their product can be sell can be sold in a good price, for example. Then later on, when we have professional parties, then companies were more concerned about whether the engineer can fulfill the code of ethics of the professional body. So they thought that it was good enough if violating the law or the rule and regulation of professional bodies. But whether it is really benefit mankind, it was just nice to have. So do engineers really have no responsibility to benefit mankind? I think I have discussed last week that although for the code of ethics of more professional body, they contain statements like engineers shall ensure their integrity in performing their professional duties. They're more about the kind of preventive ethics statement. They require engineers to be honest, honor commitment, avoid conflict of interest, etc. Okay, but we can also find this kind of statement in the code of ethics of professional bodies, such as engineers should hold paramount the safety, health, and well-being of the public in performing their professional duties. So it means it's clear that engineer should benefit mankind. Okay, but how to do it? How to benefit mankind? And actually, what is mankind? What is well-being? Many people just relate well-being with happiness. Okay, so it means that if engineers should promote the well-being of the public, then it means that engineer should promote the happiness of the public. But when we look at the daily duty of engineers, usually we just develop products or services that make people more convenient, make their life more comfortable. Okay, so they are more about the fulfillment of material needs. So can the fulfillment of material needs really bring true happiness? In fact, everyone have our standard of true happiness. I think even you, okay, you may have your own standard of true happiness. Um, in fact, then what is true happiness? In order to know whether people are happy on the planet Earth, the United Nations actually sponsor an organization called Oxford Wellbeing Research Center. They regularly produce the World Happiness Report. In the report published in 2024, which summarized the happiness index of people in different countries from 2021 to 2023. So the report showed that the most happy people on the earth are in the Northern Europe. As shown in this table, those people living in Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, they are most happy. Okay. In fact, it's not so surprising because the social welfare system of these countries are very, very good. I still remember the last time when I go to Sweden to promote our program. I talked with some local student. Okay, they just told me that if they choose to go abroad, okay, to study, the government will pay all their tuition fee. I think some of you may be jealous of their social welfare system. Now, so how about us? We're living in Hong Kong or China. Okay, do we happy? Now, in the report, we are ranked at 56 and 60. Okay, it seems that we are not so happy. And people in Japan a bit better, 51. Okay, a bit better than us. Surprisingly, people in Chile rank 38. They are more happier than us. Okay, now in terms of material needs or material fulfillments, okay, Japan, China, and Hong Kong must be much better than Chile, right? But why the people are more happier than us? So it means that actually true happiness is not just about material fulfillment. A large part of happiness comes from the fulfillment of spiritual needs. Okay, true happiness is not only about happy and fun, but also about having a flourishing life. Okay, in fact, Professor Martin Seligman, who is an American psychologist and former elect president of the American Psychological Association, he proposed in his book that well-being or true happiness has 5 measurable elements. They are, first, positive emotion. That is really happy, fun, comfortable. So obviously, if you're happy and fun, and comfortable, you must be happy. And then engagement. So it allows to concentrate on interest. They say if you are allowed to do the thing you would like to do all the time, then you must be happy. Let's say, for example, if you like to play a computer game and you are allowed to play computer game anytime you like, then obviously you must be happy, right? Relationship. If you have a good relationship with the people you care, then you will be happy, right? Meaning. If you have a meaningful life, then you'll be happy. And successfulness, okay? If you are successful in your career, then you will be happy. So these are the 5 measurable elements proposed by Professor Seligman of true happiness. And Professor Seligman weight meaning has the highest rating. Okay, yeah, it means that people may sacrifice other elements in order to have a more meaningful life. Say, for example, if you can have a more meaningful life, I think you will agree to sacrifice some computer game time. Say, for example, right? Or for example, I think there are some cross-border doctor, right? Those doctors originally can work in a well-equipped hospital with a comfortable life, but they choose to go to some poor country to help those people there. Why? Because they found their life will be more meaningful, so that they will have true happiness, something like that. So what is all to do? What about to do about ethics? Okay, I just mentioned before, experiential ethics is about engineers should hold paramount the safety, health, and well-being of the public in performing their professional duties. So it means that if engineer should promote the well-being of their professional duty, engineer should promote the meaning of their life, because meaning is the major part of the happiness. Okay, so if engineers should promote the well-being or true happiness of the public, then they should make the life more meaningful. But if we look at the daily duty, okay, of engineer, it doesn't seem that we can promote the meaning of people, right? Most of the time, we just produce products or services. We seldom can promote the meaning, okay, make people life more meaningful, right? So perhaps engineer at most can only partially promote the public well-being. However, let's look at the problem from a different angles. Like, if assume that now there's a company that sets aspirational ethics as a core value in decision making. Okay, so it means that in that company, all businesses are about benefit mankind. So in this case, the engineer working in this company, okay, will find that their work has a great meaning, okay, because every day their work is about benefit mankind. So they will find that their work has extra meaning, and then they will have extra motivation in doing the job. I think you will agree with me that if you work with extra motivation, your work efficiency must be much higher, right? So it may even lead to a breakthrough in problem solving. Then obviously, it will in turn benefit back the company that sets aspirational ethics as a core value in decision making. So it can become win-win, okay? That society, company, and the engineer, all of them will be benefit when the company set aspirational ethics as a core value of business. In order to further elaborate this point, let me give you a case study. This case is about Honda CVCC engine. I think you know Honda, right? Honda is a automobile manufacturer in Japan, not a major one, but an old brand, right? So, but however, in 1972, Honda was once the most famous world automaker in the world because they developed the first low-emission CVCC engine that leapfrogged all American big players at that time. Why it's so successful? Because the company solved a very difficult problem, very difficult technical problem that all American big players thought that it is impossible to solve. It is achieved by pulling together everyone in Honda to work on this problem and solve it. In fact, the whole story is very hot-blooded, okay? Just like some hot-blooded Japanese TV drama. In fact, some Japanese TV drama really use this story as the blueprint of the storyline. Actually, the whole thing starts with an engineer called Mr. Soichiro Honda. Okay, Mr. Honda found Honda Motor Company Limited in 1948. He was known as the god of the two-wheelers and the god of technology in Japan. And why two-wheeler? Because before making automobile, Honda was more famous in making motorcycle. It is still one of the main brands nowadays. So this gentleman is Mr. Honda with his love for race car, and this is a CVCC engine which was put into a Honda Civic in 1975. Before I go on to explain this CVCC engine, let me take a look of the air pollution problem in the US in the 60s. You know, automobile were introduced into the market, into the stuff in US, okay? By the 60s, almost every major city in the U.S. have had a automobile run on the road. And in the 60s, in fact, the air pollution problem in the U.S. was already very serious. According to a scientific study from the period, more than 60 metropolitan areas in the U.S. suffer from extremely serious air pollution problem. A study in the 1966 estimated that out of a total of 142 million tons of pollutant in the U.S., 86 million tons of about 60% could be traced back to automobile. And in some densely populated areas, such as Los Angeles, lumber can be close to 90%. Almost all pollutant come from automobile. Take a look at this picture, which show which was taken in the early afternoon in the New York City in 1966. You can see that the whole city was covered by smog, which is a shorthand of smoke and fog. Okay, people just see nothing there, even in the early afternoon. The situation in Japan was not so much better. By 70, Tokyo's air pollution problem even surpassed New York City and was only second to Los Angeles. This picture was taken in Japan in 1964. Okay, during daytime, again, you can see the whole city was covered by cloud, fog, and industrial smoke. So with such a serious air pollution problem, people there had to do something. So in 1970, a senator from the main state in the US called Edmund Muskie, he proposed a major revision to the Clean Air Act in the US. The act was immediately approved by the Senate, and President Richard Nixon signed the Clean Air Act into law on December 1970. Okay, so what is that act is about? It requires that all cars has to emit only 1/10 of the carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons by 1975. Only 5 years, okay, after the announcement of the act. Not only so, those cars made in 1976 also need to produce only 1/10 of their current nitrogen oxide levels. So because the schedule was so tight, all automakers such as GM, Ford, Chrysler, so-called the Detroit Big Three, because all these three companies has the headquarters in Detroit. So all those automakers in the US thought that it would be impossible to meet this specification in such a short amount of time. However, Mr. Honda thought it differently. He thought that it was a golden opportunity to surpass its competitors. You know, in the 60s, although Honda was very famous in making motorcycles, but in automobile, Honda was still far behind its competitors, such as Toyota, Nissan, not to mention the US big player. So, but in fact, Honda was aware of the air pollution problem caused by automobile well before the announcement of the Clean Air Act in the US. In 1966, Honda set up the Air Pollution Control Research Lab, which is called the AP Lab, okay, focused on developing solutions for combating the air pollution problem of automobiles. However, because at that time, actually no one was doing this kind of research, so everything needs to start from zero. According to the R&D director, Mr. Date of Honda, he said that we had to have no answer as to what caused air pollution problem back then. All we had was a device that measured high carbon monoxide. We even had to ask what is nitrogen oxide and hydrocarbon were. See, in Japan, there were no device available to measure them. So everything need to start from scratch. Although I said that most automobile maker at the time believed that it is impossible to achieve the Clean Air Act by 1975, they did have their own proposal. The most popular one at that time was a catalytic converter. I think you may have seen this kind of catalytic converter before. It is installed in the exhaust pipe of a car, okay, something like this. So some years ago, in Hong Kong, you may find all minibus had a catalytic converter in the exhaust pipe. Actually, that one was enhanced by PolyU professor, okay, from our mechanical engineering department. Right. So what is that catalytic converter? In fact, this is a box, okay, that contains some metal particle like platinum, palladium, and rhodium. So this metal particle will have a kind of a chemical reaction with the pollutant and break the pollutant gas down into less harmful molecules. So it seems that the problem can be solved. However, at that time, gasoline contained that. Nowadays, when you go to a gas station, you will find that there are unleaded gas, unleaded gasoline, right? But at that time, all gasoline contain lead. Those lead could be extruded with the pollution gas to the converter and cover the metal surface, rendering the device completely useless. And also, the metal particle could also leak into the environment due to the vibration of the car and introduce other kind of environmental problem. In fact, the major reason why that kind of catalytic converter was not used at that time is because platinum, rhodium, they are all very expensive metal. So if car need to use that kind of metal, okay, in their manufacturing, the price of the car will be increased a lot. So what Honda has done is totally different. Honda believes that rather than following other people's routes, they should explore a more environmentally friendly solution, a completely new engine. The research team thought that the best way to reduce the amount of pollutant in question would be to optimize the air-fuel ratio to ensure complete combustion. The term complete combustion is very common nowadays, right? But at that time, no car engine can achieve complete combustion. Okay, so that's why the CVCC engine is so famous at that time. So what is CVCC? The first C stands for compact, okay, because the engine has two chambers of different air-fuel ratios. And then V stands for vertex, okay, means that the engine has a kind of a swirling wave, okay, inside the engine cylinder that will make the combustion speed increase. And then the last two C control the combustion, pertain to the engine ability to manage the speed of its combustion. So if you're interested in the detail of this CVCC engine, you can take a look of this YouTube video, okay? It's very interesting. Even you are not a mechanical engineer, you can still understand it, very easy. And here, I would just like to briefly mention why this CVCC engine can achieve complete combustion. So I think you know this is the engine cylinder, right? So inside the cylinder, there must be a chamber where we put fuel and air into it, okay? A mix of fuel and air into it. So when the spark plug here set a fire, then the fuel will burn and then introduce an explosion. The explosion will push the piston down and let the piston to go one cycle and go up again due to the inertia. And then when it go up, the air and fuel will be compressed. And then if you set a fire again in the spark plug, then they will explode again. The explosion will push the piston down again, and then the car will run again. So that's the basic principle of a car engine. So why the PRS engine cannot achieve complete combustion? Just because the fuel inside the main chamber is too much. There is too much fuel in the main chamber. Okay, too much fuel, not enough air. So those fuel, some of them cannot burn completely, and then leak out from the engine to become pollution. So then why the traditional engine don't decrease the amount of fuel and increase the amount of air? Just because if you decrease the amount of fuel, there will be the possibility that the fuel did not burn. Then in this case, there will be no explosion. Okay, with the no explosion, then there's no the piston will not move. That means that your car will have a lower efficiency. At that time, all car emphasize on speed, performance, efficiency. So even they know that reducing the using fuel, okay, in the main chamber can solve the air pollution problem. They won't do it. Okay, they prefer to add more fuel into it to make sure that the car has the maximum performance. So what the CVCC engine has done is very clever. So Honda made two chamber, okay, in the CVCC engine cylinder. So this is the main chamber, and they introduced one more P chamber here. These two P chamber has two different air-fuel ratio. In the main chamber, the air-fuel ratio is very high. It means that there will be a lot of air and very few fuel, okay? Then, because there will be a small amount of fuel, then we will make sure that all fuel will burn, okay, and achieve complete combustion. And then in order to ensure the reliability of the engine, the air-fuel ratio in the P chamber is extremely low, 4:1 only, okay? It makes sure that there will be less air and more fuel. And then also, it's closer to the spark plug. So it means that it can ensure the fuel must be burned, and then the fire will go like a swirling wave into the main chamber to burn all the fuel there. Okay, that's why the CVCC engine can achieve complete combustion. In fact, there is an extra benefit for that particular design, because in the main chamber, which is the biggest one, the air-fuel ratio is very low. It means that the amount of fuel required is also much less than the other engine. So the CVC engine not only environmental friendly, it also uses much less fuel than the other car. So based on some success of the AP Lab, Mr. Honda announced in the news conference in February 1971, just 2 months after the announcement of the Clean Air Act, that they had successfully built the CVCC engine that met the Clean Air Act. That announcement really surprised all automakers nowadays at that time. Because although they all know that Honda was making that new engine, they did not know they can build it so fast. But actually, Honda still took another 20 months to put that CVC engine into a real car, Honda Civic, and put into the market. And as I mentioned before, the CVC engine requires much less fuel than the other engine. That's why Honda Civic was ranked the most fuel-efficient car in the US for 4 consecutive years, 1975 to 1978. Honda did not just keep the technology for themselves. They also licensed the technology to other car makers, such as Nissan, Toyota, Ford, Chrysler, Isuzu, etc. But there's an interesting story for this. At that time, GM, one of the major car maker in the US, does not seem to endorse the value of the CVCC engine. The CEO once said that, well, I have looked at this design, and while it may work on some little toy motorcycle engine, I see no potential for it on one of our GM car engine. So this GM CEO just looked down the value of the CVCC engine. he just thought that it can only be used in some toy motorcycle engine. So when Mr. Honda heard about this, he bought a 1970 V8 Impala, which is a famous GM car, air freight to Japan, and put a CVCSC engine into it, and then flew the car back to the US and made a test and passed the stringent 1975 emission requirement. So the whole event, GM really lose face. Although there are more development about this CVCC engine in the next few years, but perhaps we can pause here to have an analysis about the case first. As you can see, the success of the CVCC engine was mainly due to the vision of Mr. Honda, because Mr. Honda did not follow the route of the other company, but tried to develop a brand new solution, making a completely new engine. Okay. However, it is still just a vision or direction. The whole thing still need to be realized by the engineer of the company. Okay. Although your boss is a lot of vision, but the realization work still need to be done by the engineer. Obviously, it is not an easy work. Otherwise, other company can do it, right? All company thought that it is impossible to solve a problem, but Honda engineer could solve it. Why? First, Mr. Honda actually is well known for his man management. He always work with some the young engineer together in the factory, always talk with them and extolling the joys of making things with their own hands. Okay, and most importantly, Mr. Honda always arouse the awareness of the meaning of the project, that is to combat air pollution, a mission of the car industry for the future of mankind. It is the major factor in the project success, okay? Due to the belief that the development of a no-emission engine was what engineer can and must do for society. At that time, all people in the company, in Honda, okay, spoke the same slogan. Let's leave clear blue skies for our children. The engineer here in Honda did not say that I do this project due to my job because I want to be promoted. Okay, that's why I do this project. No, they said that they do this project for their children. Okay, to leave clean blue skies for our children. In fact, clear sky for our children was a vision and mission behind future development project at Honda. So the task thought to be impossible by other leading companies success just because the member share the same vision that the project was not about the company, but also about the role of engineers in society. It gives extra meaning and extra motivation to the work. That's why they have a higher working efficiency and have a breakthrough in solving this problem. In the last days of Mr. Honda, he wrote in his diary the following statement, a kind of a deep reflection of the whole case. He wrote, "For me, the CVCC project was the ideal chance to develop a low-emission engine that would put me on the map with the 4 leading automakers." So originally, Mr. Honda just want to use this project to compete with the other automakers. Okay, but when young engineer spoke of the extrusion problem not as a company issue, but rather as a problem that the auto industry had a social responsibility to solve, and insist that this was their duty, it opened my eyes and moved me deeply. Okay, all young engineers thought that it's not just a company issue, but a social responsibility, okay, that moved Mr. Honda deeply. He also wrote that everyone has grown up so fast. We have entered a new era that requires new kind of management, okay, built upon new value like this, that have opened my eyes and a fresh take on the relationship between companies and society. Mr. Honda thought that the relationship between company and society has entered into a new era. In the past, company just focused in making money, okay, making profit. That's why they make a product to have the highest efficiency, the best performance, okay. However, here, Mr. Honda thought that company should also do something to benefit mankind, to promote the well-being of the public, okay? Because in doing so, the company, not only the society will be benefit, also the company will be benefit. Also, the engineer working in the company will be benefit. It become win-win to all parties concerned. So, in fact, as I mentioned at the very beginning, more and more companies set ethics as the core value of business. Okay, let me give you some example. Lockheed Martin, I think you know this company, right? It is a leading aerospace and defense system manufacturer. It clearly states on its corporate web page that its core value is do what right, respect others, and perform with excellence. So do what right is about ethics. Okay, do something right. So ethics is such importance at Lockheed Martin that it is its corporate policy. It requires all employees of the company to include in their annual performance assessment and evaluation of their adherence to the Lockheed Martin ethical principle. You know, as a normal engineer, usually we just put down how much money we gain, how many trades we have made, okay, for example, in our annual performance assessment. But for the employee of the annual performance assessment, they also need to have an evaluation of their adherence to the Lockheed Martin ethical principle. They also need to attend annual every year ethics awareness training and business conduct compliance training. So you can see this is really the corporate policy for Lockheed Martin, okay, to set ethics as the core value of business. But here, what Lockheed Martin care most is the integrity of their worker. That is conduct. More about preventive ethics. It's not surprising. Although I say that Lockheed Martin is a defense system manufacturer, actually, they are also the major warfare weapon manufacturer. So they require the engineer to have high integrity to make sure that they will not use the weapon to do something bad. Okay. So let's see another company, Hewitt. I think you have most of you may not have heard this company, but it is one of North America's largest engineering and construction organization. So in its corporate web page, they also mentioned that the core value is people, integrity, excellence, and stewardship. So integrity, obviously, is about ethics. So this company requires the engineer to deal fairly with everyone in an honest and straightforward manner, honor commitment, avoid conflict of interest, adhere to law, etc. Okay, so they are all about preventive ethics also. But in stewardship, there is a statement here that state that they require the engineer to make a positive impact on our communities. So positive impact, then this part is about aspirational ethics. But of course, more they are also still biased more to preventive ethics, okay, about conduct and integrity. So, is there any company that really set aspirational ethics as their core value of business? There are many. Say, for example, this one, Arup. You may not have heard about this company, but you must have heard about Sydney Opera House. Okay, Arup is the major developer of Sydney Opera House. So in their corporate webpage, they also have this statement. Our work is truly profitable when it shapes a better world. So the company is not profitable when they get a lot of money. They will be truly profitable when it shapes a better world. Which is a statement they put in their corporate webpage. Okay, so obviously it's about aspirational ethics. They also say that as a firm, we continue to make significant commitments that will lead to greater conservation of resource, biodiversity, and energy in everything we do. So they care so much about natural environment to be environmental friendly. Right, so among these three companies, which one gives you a better impression of their core value? Right, so let me make a summary of what we have discussed in this last lecture, okay? So last week, I emphasized a lot that engineering ethics contain two parts, preventive ethics and aspirational ethics. This table tries to summarize the differences between these two ethics. So in terms of direction, preventive ethics is about avoiding harm and introducing safety and health problem to public. But for aspirational ethics, it's about contribution to well-being. Okay. And then the goal of preventive ethics is to prevent what should not be done. And the goal of aspirational ethics is about making good decisions and do good work. Okay, so these are the major difference between these two ethics. And in this lecture, at the very beginning, I said that in the past, engineering companies set enhancing performance and profit as the core value, particularly at the time when there were no professional bodies. Okay, all companies just focus on making money. Okay, really. But later on, when we have a professional body, then company were more concerned whether the engineer can fulfill the core ethics of the professional bodies. Okay, so they then concern more about the integrity and conduct of the engineer. So this is what we call the engineering ethics 1.0. And then in recent years, we have more and more companies that see themselves as having a higher social responsibility by setting aspirational ethics as their core value. They found that they need to benefit mankind when conducting their business. This is engineering ethics 2.0. Why they do so? Because they found there are many benefits. Say, for example, they will have a better company image. Okay, this is very important. When you have a better company image, then it will be easier for you to recruit talent and attract customer. And also, it will give extra meaning and motivation to engineer. Then it will promote their well-being, make the engineer working happily in your company. And in this case, it will improve the working efficiency. Okay, lead to a higher working efficiency and maybe breakthrough in their work. And then obviously it will contribute back to the company. Okay, so when the company setting aspirational ethics as their core value of business, then it will benefit to not only themselves, not only the society, but also to the company themselves and also to the engineer. So it becomes win-win to all parties. Okay, so that's it I want to say today. If there is any question or anything you want to share, if no, then make sure that you will take an attendance now. Okay, now I still receive email from you guys saying that I forgot to scan the QR code. Now make sure that you will scan it now if you have not done so. Okay. We will count attendance starting from this week. A lot of you ask about whether you need to do the quiz or not. Obviously, my answer is yes. You should do the quiz because the performance in the quiz will contribute to the final marks. But more importantly, if you miss a class, you have to do the quiz. Okay. Otherwise, you will need to do an extra online test at the end of the subject. Okay. So if you have no more question, then that's it. Oh, I got a question. Is there any recording for the lecture? Yes. Go to the Blackboard. The lecture has been posted there. Lecture 1, the video for lecture 1 has been posted there. Go to the Blackboard. Okay. So if you have no more question, then that's it for this week. So see you next week. Bye-bye.